Hello, everybody. It is Andy Smith, your host with the most and 33-year veteran of the comic book industry with, yet again, this week's book look. This week, we're looking at Mike Hawthorne's Drawing Cheat Codes, Volume 1, Human Proportions. Guys, Mike Hawthorne is a comic book artist, been in the business a long time, worked on Deadpool, most notably Deadpool? Yeah, probably. You can go to MikeHawthorneArt.com to check out more. This is Volume 1, Cheat Codes. It's a thin little book. He did a Kickstarter of it. And it's not a how to draw book. It's just kind of when you're drawing, and if you, maybe if you blank on something, you know, you can refer to it. Let's dive in and get you up to speed. Now, this book is a couple years old. It did come with a nice little bookmark right here, Human Proportion. Now, a lot of the stuff in this book is meant for realistic proportions. As you can see, his figure's 7.5 heads tall. Not really the heroic proportion, but still, and on the back, leg, torso stuff. So this one is for human proportions. Now, the reason I'm doing this book look now, because you're like, that book's a couple years old. I just got Volume 2 in the mail, which will be next week's book look. Cheat Codes Volume 1 came out in 2020, so it's 4 years old. I apologize, got that wrong. So here, just simple things. And remember, guys, this is all for like the standard perfect proportion stuff, you know, like the head, the eyes are halfway, you know, distance where the nose falls, mouth, so on and so forth. If you're going to, of course, caricature or cartoon somebody's head, or if you just look in real life, this, you know, these are all different. I mean, just pull up a picture of your host here, me, and you'll notice I've got quite a bit of distance from the mouth down. I believe he's saying this is the bottom lip and then the chin, because that's a pretty small chin if he's saying that's the middle of the mouth. But let's go on and see. Oh, look, I was wrong. So eyes are 5 across. That is pretty much standard. That is How to Draw right out of How to Draw Comics the Marvel way. I have that in my book as well. The width of the nose is 1 eye. You can see when he pops the features in. Now, I mean, I think, I will say this. Let's see. So eyes halfway. I do that. Nose, the ear, by the way, is top of the ear, bottom of the ear. Nose, he has 1/4 and an 1/8. So he's saying the nose. So this is weird. Once again, every artist is different, but he's saying the nose is 1/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of the whole head, and the mouth is 1/8. I think when I do it, I do the nose is halfway from eyes to chin, and then mouth is broken. You break the distance from the bottom of the nose to the chin into thirds, and the mouth is the top third. So I'm curious. I'd like to talk to him. I'm curious where you got that from. Because if you look here, this guy has no chin whatsoever, or he looks more like a kid. But, you know, every artist is different. I'm sure you read it somewhere. Finding the halfway point. So, the head itself can fit basically into a box, as you see here. Now notice, he kind of broke his own rule here, because the eye is here, or where the nose comes in, I'm sorry, the eye does fall. Here's the center, and the eye's here, because it's lower than where the bridge of the nose is. Then he has the nose higher up, almost halfway. That's, yeah, I don't know. Well, let's just keep going. The head equals orb with flat sides. That's true. Andrew Loomis, if you get his book, Andrew Loomis, fantastic artist, early 1900s. and such. If you get his book, he starts with a circle and he lops off the side, because if you notice the side of the head, just feel the side of your head, it's kind of flat. Oh, look, it came with a sticker. I forgot about this. Got this neat little sticker here. Great drawing of a skull. That's a good reference. And then just once you get these basic shapes down, you can see how orienting the head in different positions isn't super difficult. Mouth, it's called a mouth barrel because of how it wraps around. Nothing really is that flat on the face. These are simplified planes. Muscle masses, of course, there's a muscle there on the side of your head, and your jaw muscle doesn't stick out that much. He's exaggerating. Head and neck, halfway point. A lot of these proportions do work out really well for when you're drawing. And this is for, like I was saying, the idealized type of figure. You know, you can, of course, exaggerate this stuff as much as you want. And the body's always been measured by the height of a head. I'll reiterate again, if you're drawing, you know, somebody like Wolverine, who's short, you know, his head would be a little larger. You know, it's kind of like if you're drawing a little person, you know, same thing. Female rib cage, male rib cage, there is a difference in the width. That's good. Shoulder width by gender, male is 2 heads. And now this is, okay, so I usually measure the width, if I was going to do it, of the shoulders with the width of the head. He's doing it where if you lay the head down, which works as well. So average guy, average schmo, you know, I wouldn't draw Superman this way, 2 heads, female 1.5. Her shoulders are a little more narrow. He gets into the arm proportion, but you can also see the nice basic shape structure of the arm, which is good. Angles of the rib cage compared to the pelvis. Very important here, the fingers flare out from the wrist. It's not necessarily the center of the wrist with this finger, but you could basically pop a dot right in the center of the wrist and just flare them all out. It's good enough for drawing purposes. The fingers bow inward. Remember that. If you look at your fist when you close it, you'll notice all your fingers bend towards the center. This is interesting. I got to say, when I saw that, this, I actually did it just to see, hey, is that true? And I'm doing it right now off camera with this hand measuring, and it is. So, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, keep in mind, this is all for like regular idealized people. This would differ with characters like the Thing or the Hulk, you know, stuff like that. So Mike has taught life drawing classes and such, so I'm sure these are all principles that he puts into his classes. Remember the arc, the knuckles arc, and then all the joints arc around as well, and then the fingers as well. Keep that in mind. This is good for the foot to see how you break the foot up. So without the toes, you can basically cut it in thirds, and you've got the heel, the instep, the palm of the foot there, and then the toes pop out. And of course, the highest point is here. Usually when you're wearing a boot or something like that, it's, you know, it's not really like that as much, you know, the thicker the shoe. But, you know, I've got these sneakers that are like, you know, barefoot type. Not the ones with the individual toes. That just freaks me out. But by the same company. and those things fit, are form fitting, and definitely you see that. So good to keep in mind cross sections of the body when drawing. Here we get into male, female figures. The difference, obviously, women have more of that hourglass, shoulders and hips line up, whereas the shoulders are wider than the hips. This is good stuff here, angles and such not, to figure out things of like belly button, nipple placement, things like that. Bottom of the scapula. And you might say, wow, that's a lot to remember. Figure drawing's tough. Figure drawing is tough. And I always tell people, if you can draw the human figure out of your head, and you know, when I say out of your head, I mean like, hey, if I got to draw Superman flying, I can do it out of my head. If I've got to draw a guy, you know, sitting at a table, I can do it out of my head, but I might look at reference or I might pose myself just to get a more natural pose down. But the point is, if you can draw a figure flying, running, whatever, out of your head, you can pretty much draw anything because the figure's so complex. And keep in mind, drawing this, you know, you might think it's a lot, but once you do it enough, it's not that hard to remember. This is pretty good here. This is out of Jack Ham. I remember seeing this in the Jack Ham book. Once again, using eye measurements. So now he's using, I've never really seen the eye measurements used for stuff like from the bottom of the nose to the bottom lip and stuff like that. So that's your call. This is pretty cool for the brow. I've never really seen this either, where the length of an eye or width of an eye you use and use the measurement for the bottom of the eyelid to the top of the brow. Because once again, if this eyebrow is scrunched down or in a surprise look, it's going to raise and lower. So I guess for just resting, that works. This is good. Pay attention to this. If you notice, eyebrow tip, the peak is almost in the halfway point of it. Once again, depending on the character you're drawing, but good to remember. Little things like that are good to remember. The ear, I love this. This is so true. The ear is, and I did this in my book too, the ear's basically this backward C shape, and then you have the letter Y curved inside of it. That's it. And you can make this thicker or wider, make this inside part of the Y smaller, bigger, whatever, play with the proportions of it, but unless somebody has a cauliflower ear from fighting, almost every ear you look at is like that. High point, low point. This is, I saw that when I was reading George Bridgman and Bern Hogarth, but it's good stuff to know. Great stuff here for the lips and how they curve around. Good stuff on the nose there. Aging, this is pretty cool. So a 20-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a baby. That's cool. You know, blocking in. Cheat Codes Volume 2 coming soon. So it did. It took them a little while because, like I said, I just got it. So 4 years. But, guys, this is really good. I'm going to post the link in the description below. I did do a little check-in for you guys. Unfortunately, this first one is not in print anymore, but you can get a digital edition of it from Mike, and you might want to check it out. So do that, and of course, like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for joining me on this week's book look. Next week, like I said, we're going to look at, Volume 2 of Mike Hawthorne's Cheat Codes. So join me then. And guys, my new campaign, KOR-DRATH, The Awakening, is live on Indiegogo. 64 pages, ball-busting, barbarian action. The trailer's coming up. Take a minute, watch the trailer, go back the campaign. It's because of your support that allows me to make these books from Astonishing Comics. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.